Go dee dee, go go dee go. Dee go, dee go. It was the Eliwi talking to the clan. One of the things every man learned was the language of the hollowed-out wooden instrument. Demi, 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 boomed the cannon at intervals. The first cock had not crowed, and Umofia was still swallowed up in sleep and silence when the Elwi began to talk, and the cannon shattered the silence. Men stirred on their bamboo beds and listened anxiously. Somebody was dead. The cannon seemed to rend the sky. Dee-go, go. Dee-go, dee-dee, go-go, floated in the message-laden night air. The faint and distant wailing of women settled like a sediment of sorrow on the earth. Now and again a full-chested lamentation rose above the wailing whenever a man came into the place of death. He raised his voice once or twice in manly sorrow, and then sat down with the other men, listening to the endless wailing of the women and the esoteric language of the Elwi. Now and again the cannon boomed. The wailing of the women would not be heard beyond the village, but the Eloi carried the news to all the 9 villages and even beyond. It began by naming the clan Umofia Obodo Dike, the land of the brave. Umofia Obodo Dike, Umofia Obodo Dike. It said this over and over again, and as it dwelt on it, anxiety mounted in every heart that heaved on a bamboo bed that night. Then it went nearer and named the village, Iguedo of the yellow grinding stone. It was Okonoko's village. Again and again, Iguedo was called, and men waited breathlessly in all the 9 villages. At last the man was named, and people sighed. Eziudu is dead. A cold shiver ran down Okonkwo's back as he remembered the last time the old man had visited him. The boy calls you father, he had said. That boy calls you father, he had said. Bear no hand in his death. Ezidu was a great man, and so all the clan was at his funeral. The ancient drums of death beat. Guns and cannon were fired, and men dashed about in frenzy, cutting down every tree or animal they saw, jumping over walls and dancing on the roof. It was a warrior's funeral, and from morning till night, warriors came and went in their age groups. They all wore smoked raffia skirts, and their bodies were painted with chalk and charcoal. Now and again, an ancestral spirit of Ijuwangwa appeared from the underworld, speaking in a tremulous, unearthly voice, and completely covered in raffia. Some of them were very violent, and there had been a mad rush for shelter earlier in the day, when one appeared with a sharp machete and was only prevented from doing serious harm by 2 men who restrained him, with the help of a strong rope tied around his waist. Sometimes he turned around and chased those men, and they ran for their lives. But they always returned to the long rope he trailed behind. He sang in a terrifying voice. The Ekwensu, or evil spirit, had entered his eye. But the most dreaded of all was yet to come. He was always alone and was shaped like a coffin. A sickly odor hung in the air. Wherever he went, the flies went with him. Even the greatest medicine men took shelter when he was near. Many years ago, another Igwogu had dared to stand his ground before him and had been transfixed in the spot for 2 days. This one had only one hand and carried a basket full of water. But some of the Igwogu were quite harmless. One of them was so old and infirm that he leaned heavily on a stick. He walked unsteadily to the place where the corpse was laid, gazed at it a while, and went away again to the underworld. The land of the living was not far removed from the domain of the ancestors. There was coming and going between them, especially at festivals and also when an old man died, because an old man was very close to the ancestors. A man's life from birth to death was a series of transition rites which brought him nearer and nearer to his ancestors. Eziudu had been the oldest man in the village, and at his death there were only 3 men in the whole clan who were older, and 4 or 5 others in his own age group. Whenever one of those ancient men appeared in the crowd to dance unsteadily the funeral steps of the tribe, younger men gave way and the tumult subsided. It was a great